Hello, and welcome back to Random Vids. So, today, as the title says, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite movies from the Illumination Studios, or Universal, whatever you want to call it. I've done this before. I did the Disney movies and I did Pixar movies last year. However, the second half of last year, I got really busy, especially with video ideas for YouTube. So now let's finish up the series. Obviously, this isn't going to be the last part, but what I mean is let's continue this series. And my next one that I wanted to talk about is Universal Picture movies or Illuminations, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I really feel like a lot of the Illumination movies are very overlooked, very underrated, and underappreciated in a way. Like, yeah, it can be a little sillier than other things, but there's honestly a lot of great Universal or Illumination movies. And right now I'm going to talk about my 10 favorite. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get to number 10, which is Despicable Me 4. Holy cow, 4 of these movies later, and honestly, it's still a series that I really enjoy. There is some things about this movie that I don't think is quite as good as the other ones, but I don't know. So for starters, I've only seen this movie a total of, say it with me, one time. I know, I can't believe it either. We saw it a day that we were at the beach and it was really rainy, so we're like, you know what? Screw it, we'll go to the movie theater and watch Despicable Me 4, because why the heck not? And I've only seen it once since then, and that was, what, July of last year? So, yeah, this is an interesting start. Honestly, I don't remember too much about the movie. I just remember thinking, hey, it was a decent movie. It just wasn't my personal favorite, especially compared to the other Despicable Me movies. Basically, what happens is that Gru, Lucy, and all the kids, and basically everyone, has to move and change identities so the villain can't find them, or something like that. So they have to now leave their old lives and start brand new lives, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of confusing, but I guess it's kind of neat. It's neat. It's great on paper. Movie, it's okay. I feel like they could have done a lot more with the concept, but okay. I don't remember too much of the movie, though. That's the problem. I mean, the problem is I only seen it one time as well, so it's a little harder. Also, the fact that Gru and Lucy now have a fourth child. I forget what his name is, but he loves his mom, but his dad, not so much. This is the only Despicable Me movie that I can't really explain the plot because I don't remember it. I just know they had to change lives, and I remember the one part where Gru was teaming up with his next door neighbor or whatever, and they had to steal something or whatever. I don't know. It's definitely it's a little bit of a confusing movie, and definitely an odd direction for Despicable Me, but once again, I don't think it's a bad movie. I did enjoy a lot of the scenes. Obviously, I'm going to be the odd one out and say I actually like the Minions. I don't mind them. I know there's a lot of people, especially adults, who just can't stand these characters because they're big screen hogs, and the scenes that they're in just feel like pointless and filler. Which, okay, yeah, some parts maybe, but the Minions are meant for the kids. Like I remember loving the Minions when I was a kid. Obviously now as an adult, I think Gru is funnier. I think Gru's hilarious. He's probably my favorite character in the movies. But I still think the Minions are great, and they didn't make them too obnoxious in this movie either. What's kind of funny is that they didn't really do too many things forwarding the third movie. Except for the fact that, I forget her name, Agnes has Lucky the goat now. Okay. But like Drew, we don't really see Drew in this movie. We see him a little bit there at the end, but that's about it. And the fact that, what's his name? Mr. Ramsbottom, that's his name. Apparently he quit in the third one, but now all of a sudden he's back. I don't know. There's some weird plots that just don't make any sense, but I try not to look too much of, oh, it doesn't make any sense, to just enjoy the movie. And the ending is kind of silly too, where, okay, it's silly and odd. Gru and this villain that they've literally been spending the whole movie keeping their distance with each other, all of a sudden are now just singing together on a stage in front of a bunch of people in jail. Yeah, this is my big problem with the movie. It's just so random at times. So many random moments. The baby turns into this bug fly thing. Like, what am I watching? Am I watching Despicable Me or something else? I don't know. So, I don't know. I like it. I think it's good. It's fun seeing Gru, the minions, Lucy. It's fun seeing all the characters, but the story, I don't know. But hey, I liked it well enough to at least put it on top 10 list. And I love the end where we get to see all the previous villains in jail as well, so that's kind of funny. But then it just makes you think, well, how did they catch all these villains? Because not all of them they caught. But I guess they did? I don't know. It's an odd movie. It's an oddball, but I think it's a good one. So with that, let's move to number 9, which is number 9, Minions: The Rise of Gru. Yep, we're still in the Despicable Me. I told you, there's a lot of movies, and I like a lot of them, so bear with me here. So back in 2022, we got a sequel to the Minions movie, and it's called Minions: The Rise of Gru. And because everyone was so fond of the original Minions movie, I guess they decided to make a sequel. Okay, at least this is a much better story compared to the fourth Despicable Me. Like, I love Despicable Me. I love it so much, but oh wow, fourth is a good movie, but it's just lacking in a lot of things. At least this feels more like a complete story. Like, I can summarize the story better, and it also is the fact that I've watched it more than once. Yeah, once again, Minions are not really many people's favorite characters. Personally, I don't mind them. I think they're great characters. And it's fun seeing Gru in this movie, too, and how he wanted to become a big superhero. Also, the villainous 5 or whatever, 6, whatever, they're fairly interesting villains. Not as interesting as Scarlet and Herb from the original, but I still think they're great villains. Gru looks up to them and wants to prove to them that he's a true villain, so he steals the ruby or whatever. It has been a minute since I've seen this movie, so bear with me. So now they're trying to get it back from Gru. Meanwhile, I guess he got captured by Wild Knuckles, I guess his name is. I forget what his name is. I think that's what it is. Basically, someone who dropped out of the villainous. And him and Gru, I guess, end up bonding, and oh no, that's basically how the movie is. Meanwhile, Kevin, Stewart, and Bob are trying to find Gru. So, yeah, it's a pretty decent movie. Like, it's a great sequel to the original Minions movie. Do they need to make another one? No, because personally, I'm not really a big fan of the direction that the Despicable Me series is going. So I think they should probably stop with both Minions and Despicable Me. Like, leave it as it is. Like, don't fix what isn't broken, or don't make more of something and just have it be filler content. And that's not me saying that I hate these movies, because I do really like them. I just don't think we need a third Minions or a fifth Despicable Me. So that's just my warning to Illuminations. Please don't, because these movies are great, but we don't need more movies to push the series downhill, because eventually we'll just end up like Ice Age. And even that series I didn't think was horrible as it was. I don't know. It's a good movie. I just think there's better ones, so... Minions: Rise of Gru. It's a pretty good movie. Nothing else I have to say. So let's move on to number 8, which is Migration. Alright, we're starting to get into the really good stuff now. So, Migration came out last year, in 2023. And, once again, I've only seen it a total of one time. But, unlike Despicable Me 4, where I don't really remember much of what happened, also the fact that I'm just way more nostalgic towards the other Despicable Me movies, where the fourth one is just like, okay, like, I've seen this stuff before. Migration, I've only seen it one time. It's been even longer than Despicable Me, yet I remember so much more about this movie. It's crazy. And man, this movie, it's so much better than what, like, we all originally thought. So, I saw this movie, December of 23 probably, and wow, it's a good one. Basically, do you guys remember the Rio movies? Rio 1, Rio 2. This movie really reminds me of Rio 2, but just done so much better. Rio 2 is fine, but definitely some parts of it are just very drawn out, boring, and feel like it's a just usual sequel. Where Migration feels like its own thing. It's really great, and I love all the characters. Between our main character, Mac, who is this maybe a little bit of an overprotective father of his family, his wife Pam, who both are great and they're fun watching. Uncle Dan, who's voiced by Danny DeVito, which is hilarious. I mean, he's, I guess, the comic relief character, although I didn't find him too funny. Then, of course, their kids, Dax and Gwen. I love both. This is just a great family to watch. They're entertaining. They're fun. Like, they have their fun moments. Dax and Gwen are adorable, by the way. I love all their little side stories, like Gwen trying to be more brave, and Dax finding a girl that he kind of likes. It's cute, and they I guess try to and the story is basically the title of the movie. They migrate. It's a really fun movie, and I love seeing the adventure that they go on. Is it the best Illuminations movie ever? No. But is it a really good one? Absolutely. I think this one was a really, surprise. I didn't know how well of a movie this one was going to be. I was a little skeptical at first. But after watching it, I was like, whoa, this surprised me. This was way better than I thought it was going to be. And this was pretty much the opposite of how I thought of Despicable Me 4, in a way. Although I kind of expected that one to be a little okay too. But, man, this one surprised me. I liked it way more than I thought. The villain is an interesting character, and it's fun seeing the family try to, what's the word? Try not to be eaten, because the villain is literally just a chef, which is kind of funny. And there's just a lot of great moments in the movie, funny moments. Dax and his dad, and it's just a great movie. I love Migration. And it's funny because even though Mac is our main character, we get so many other, not really side stories, but also just plots of the other characters too. Not really Pam and Gwen, but definitely a lot on Dax. That's fine. I think Dax is probably my favorite character of the movie anyway. He's pretty cute. And overall, it's just a really great movie. In my opinion, definitely the best Illuminations movie of 2023. Probably because it was basically the only one of 2023. Joking. No, I completely forgot. There was another one made in 2023. But, okay. I should say it this way. Definitely my favorite movie with ducks in it. That's what I should say. Especially since ducks aren't even my favorite animals. But, hey, it's a cute movie. I love it. I really want to watch it again, though. So, good old Migration. Let's move on to number 7, which is The Secret Life of Pets 2. Ah, man. I've told you before in the Pixar and Disney ones, but I'm a sucker for these type of movies because, man, they're just too adorable to pass up. So, being a big fan of the original Secret Life of Pets, I was so excited to see the sequel to Secret Life of Pets. Now, admittedly, I don't think it's quite as good as the original, and I know a lot of other people agree, but come on, it's still a great, great movie. What's interesting about this one is the fact that there's 3 plots going on at once. So you start off with our main character, Max, and his family is going off to a farm for the weekend. And there he meets a dog named Rooster, voiced by, what's his name? You know who I'm talking about. Han Solo from Star Wars. And, I guess he teaches Max to not feel quite as stressed around a baby. Speaking of which, Max's owners have a baby. Okay. So this is kind of an interesting story. Then we have one with Gidget, who's trying to get a toy back from a crazy cat lady's house with a bunch of cats everywhere. It's kind of funny. It leads to a bunch of funny moments. And I love seeing, of course, Mel and Buddy and their great moments, and Chloe, who's hilarious as heck, one of my favorite characters of the show, and even Norman, who's another great character. I love basically all the characters because they're just so great. Like like Despicable Me, such a great cast. I love it. And then of course you have another side plot going on with Snowball the Bunny, who's basically a complete 180 character from himself from the original movie, which is kind of funny. Where now he's a superhero out to save everybody. So he's out to help a dog named Daisy to help I forget, a tiger cheetah thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. And a lot of interest. This is where we meet our main villain of the movie. Kind of interesting, since the original didn't really have a villain. I guess it had Snowball, but I don't know if I really consider him a villain or not. I don't know. I guess he kind of was. But this is way better than having a bunny as the villain. Anywho, they try to hide this tiger from our villain, so they take it over to Pop's place. And Pop's is having I guess, school for puppies, which is adorable as heck. Definitely one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. With, of course, some iconic puppies like Tiny, Pickles, and Princess being basically the main ones. And for some reason, a kitten as well, named George. Okay, that came out of nowhere. I didn't know really how to feel about that at first, but I don't know, I'm going to like it. He's cute, and so are all the other characters in the class. I don't know, it's kind of funny. It's adorable, though. Like, you gotta love it. I guess eventually all the plots end up connecting together, and that's about it. It's a great movie. I think it's good. Like, the new characters they introduced are really great as well. Mainly the puppies from the puppy school, but like, they're all great characters. And the ones they left out from the first movie, I wasn't too upset about. So, overall, it's a really good movie. I just think the original is better. So, spoiler alert, we are going to see the original on this list somewhere. So, Secret Life of Pets 2, it's a great movie. So, with that, let's move on to number 6, which is Sing 2. Huh, interesting. This one got a sequel to it. So, personally, I wasn't really the biggest fan of the original Sing. I don't know what it was. It just felt like a weird, odd clash of Secret Life of Pets and Zootopia in a way, but just done way worse. And some of the characters they have in that movie are just pretty bland and boring. And, I don't know, the story overall is just, it's fine. Like, it's just a fine movie, but it's definitely one of the weaker Illumination movies. The sequel, on the other hand, basically fixes all the problems about the original, which is great. Like, thank God Mike the Rat, whatever his name was, is not in this movie, because he is easily the worst character of the Sing franchises, and probably one of the worst Illumination characters ever made. He was just so obnoxiously annoying. I could not stand him at all. He felt like a last-minute filler type character, if you know what I mean. This movie, thank the Lord they don't have him. And what I really like about this movie, well, for starters, the new characters are great, and I love how we see more story with our side characters. Yeah, we saw a lot of that in the original, but we also saw way too much Buster Moon, where this movie, it definitely isn't quite as much, which is great, because he's fine, he's just a little boring in my opinion. So luckily we got to see more of these side characters, plus more side characters. And it isn't just focused on Mina the whole time either. Like, everyone gets their chance at the spotlight, which is great. And like I said, the new characters are really great in this movie too. And the villain is really great. There wasn't really a villain in the original movie, I guess. Man, everything about this movie is just so much better than the original. I was kind of skeptical going in because I wasn't really a big fan of the original movie. But man, this movie is really great. Heck, the intro of the movie is basically just like, don't worry, we heard your complaints, we're going to make this movie right. And man, there was a lot of like, what's the word? A lot of hype for this movie, I guess. Like, they had this Come Home short that played on Thanksgiving Day, back in 2021. Where it's basically just a quick little short with characters who are surprisingly not in this movie at all, which is a shame. They're great characters. And that's a little short, which is kind of funny. But man, this movie is great. I love it a lot. Okay. I don't think it's definitely not the best movie, but comparing it to the original, man, it's a big improvement. So luckily it's a really great movie, and heck, I wouldn't mind even seeing a third movie. Just make sure it doesn't get repetitive either. We don't want a Despicable Me thing. But yeah, Sing 2, great movie for sure. So with that, let's move on to number 5, which is Despicable Me 3. Now this is a much better Despicable Me movie. Like I said, fourth one ain't bad, but it was just lacking in a lot of things. The third movie, on the other hand, is much better. So, this is back when I think the writing was still really strong for Despicable Me. Like, the villain was really great. I love how what's interesting is that I just realized this after the second Minions movie came out, is that basically most of the Despicable Me franchises are based off of a certain era of music. Like, the first Minions movie was almost like the 60s, 50s style music. This movie was focused on the 80s style, and then Minions 2 was focused on the 70s music. So it's really cool and interesting the way they did that, and I like it a lot. So this one, Gru meets his twin brother Drew, who's literally just the complete opposite of Gru, which is really funny. Now, I know a lot of people weren't really the biggest fans of this movie, mainly because of Drew, but personally, I didn't think he was that annoying, and I thought he was pretty funny overall. At least there's still plot in this movie. They go and basically it's just a lot of Gru versus the villain, I forget what his name is, trying to fight over the ruby or whatever. And Gru and Drew go and try to get it back. I don't know, there's not really much else to the movie. I think it's really great, and I think it's criminally underrated. I know. I think it's overhated for sure. I know a lot of people don't really like this movie, but I think it's really great. Like, it's really funny, and the plot makes sense. They're going to see Gru's twin brother. It's not a random, we have to change identities because of this random villain that I'll end up singing with at the end of the movie. It's stuff like that just makes the movie just really odd, but nah, this is really great. I love the pig-themed everything. And the Minions are great as well, as always. It's funny seeing them in jail and them just whooping everybody's butts. Basically, it's hilarious. It's a great movie overall. It's still not my favorite out of the Despicable Me franchise, but I think this is a really underrated Despicable Me movie. It's a good one for sure. So with that, let's move on to number 4, which is The Grinch. Wow. Just wow. I'm speechless. They made a Grinch movie? And it's not just 30 minutes long like the original? Finally, it's about time. Obviously, I like the original Grinch, like the original Grinch. It's a really great movie. The only problem is it's too short, and it's made like, what, 60 some years ago now at this point. So it's about time we get a modern version of The Grinch, and man, this movie doesn't disappoint. Now, some people might consider there to be a bunch of quote-unquote filler scenes, but keep in mind, the original movie was 30 minutes. How are we going to change that to an hour and 30 minutes? Well, they gotta come up with something. And I think what they came up with was really great. The plot is still going on, maybe just not quite as fast as the original, which that's fine. We get to see more of, why the Grinch doesn't like Christmas. And obviously the graphics look amazing. And also the same with Cindy Lou Who. She's not just a random character anymore. Now she actually has plot. And no, I do not want to watch the 2000 live-action version of Grinch. So do not ask. That was, I don't even know what they were trying to do with that. But luckily we have a much better modern Grinch movie. My only problem with the movie is the fact that they don't have the Grinch music. Why don't they have the original music? Now it's just a random brand new song, which I don't like at all. I think it's annoying, and I really wish they had the original Grinch song, because it's such an iconic Christmas song. Why would they change that? Okay, besides that, the rest of the movie is really, really good. There's a lot of funny moments of the movie too. Then, of course, Max, who's a great character. Gotta love the doggies. Max is adorable. There's a lot of funny scenes in this movie too. Um, it's just overall a great movie. It's a tradition that we watch it every year because it's such a great movie. It's great. I like it a lot. Um, they did a really good job with this movie, I think. So I really hope we get another Dr. Seuss remake. Let's hope the next one is The Cat in the Hat because that one, I think it's about time that one gets a true remake. I know we had that live action version, which I've seen like one time, and yeah, I think it's time we get a modern version of that, and maybe a few others here and there. Anywho, Grinch is really great, and it's easily one of my favorite Illumination movies. With that, let's move on to number 3, which is Despicable Me 2. Hey, look, here's an even better Despicable Me movie. I thought the third one was really good, but man, the second one, woo! They really did a great job with this movie. We're at the point where we're at my 3 absolute favorite Illumination movies. Try to see if you can guess what number 1 is. I mean, once you see what number 1 is, you'll be like, okay, that makes sense. But try to take a little guess. But man, Despicable Me 2 is such a great sequel to the original. And in my opinion, it's probably my favorite Despicable Me movie. So yeah, unfortunately, the original is not on this list, but maybe we'll talk about that one later. Anywho, so Gru is now a spy after not being a villain anymore. And while he's being a spy, he meets up with his future wife named Lucy. The two just bond so well together. Gru being his usual hilarious self, and Lucy being bubbly as always. And just a lot of hilarious, great moments. And the villain, El Macho, is such a great villain as well. I remember back when we first watched it, my brother was always scared of the purple minions, I guess. Which, I mean, I guess you could see them just, the minions, a beloved, like, beloved by many children is what I'm trying to say, all of a sudden turn into these evil purple things. I guess that can be considered creepy, but I never found them creepy. But man, this is such a great movie. Dr. Nefario is actually in it. The plot is great. I love the Mexican theme to this movie. This is before we really had song themes, I guess, or song genres yet. So I guess it was just Mexican. I don't know. It's really great. It's easily, in my opinion, the best Despicable Me movie. And don't worry, the minions aren't annoying in this movie. Probably because 50% of the time they're not even minions. They're purple things. I guess they're still minions, but you get what I mean. Overall, it's a great movie, and in my opinion, it's the best Despicable Me movie and one of the best Illumination movies for sure. It's a great one. It's definitely top 3. With that, let's get to number 2, which is The Secret Life of Pets. I told you I'm a sucker for these type of movies. We already talked about the sequel, but the original, man, the original is such a great movie. I love this one. Even better than Despicable Me 2, which I thought was impossible, but because Despicable Me 2 is so great as well, but man, I'm just a sucker for this movie. I love it so much. The characters are great. The story, yeah, it's not complex, but it's a great story. It's a great Illuminations movie. What else need I say? Basically, Max's owner comes home with a new dog named Duke. So they both have to get along with each other. Okay, I've seen this before in other movies, but hey, it's done really well because both Duke and Max are likable characters. They're both great to watch, especially Max. I love Max. Also love how Gidget has a crush on Max. There's just so many stories that all these animals are just so, like, they have their own little stories, and it just leads up. It's just, I don't really know how to describe it, but if you watch the movie, you know what I mean. Like, they all have their own little stories, and it can intervene with other stories, which is just so fun to watch. I love it so much. Anywho, Gidget is feared that Max is gone, so she gets a bunch of the animals to look for them. That being basically her, Mel Buddy, Sweet Pea, and of course one of my favorite characters of the movie, Chloe. Who's basically this sarcastic, sassy cat. That's another thing I really love, how they're just so spot on with how the way the animals act. Like how Chloe is just so, like, sassy and sarcastic, but still a great friend. And Max is basically a dog. I don't know. They did a really great job with it. I love it a lot. Anywho, so Max and Duke end up in a place called the Fleshed Pets, which is basically just, I guess, pets who've been dumped by their owners. And it's led by not a crocodile, not a pig, not a lizard, a bunny rabbit. I don't know. It's really funny. What I really like though is that instead of Snowball staying as the villain, he ends up finding a owner by the end of the movie. It's a really cute ending too. And seeing them all team up after everyone is basically captured by animal control, seeing Snowball and Max finally team up is so great. And there's just so many moments about this movie that's A, nostalgia, and B, it's just so fun to watch. Chloe is hilarious. I love the whole scene where she's in Pop's house and she gets into a bunch of mischief there. It's hilarious, and it's later shown on a screen. Like I said, Chloe's one of my favorite characters. Next to the puppies from next to the puppies from the Pop's Puppy School thing. Like I said, the story isn't too complex, but it doesn't need to be. The character's just so great, and it's such a great movie that I don't care. And also, I will admit the sausage scene is kind of funny too. So overall, it's easily one of my favorite Illumination movies, and it was really on par with Despicable Me 2. Either or could have been number 2 or 3, but I don't know. Going back, I think this one's just a little better. I know most people would say no, but for me personally, this one it's just better in my opinion. So before we get to number 1, let's go through a few honorable mentions. Despicable Me. I mean, of course I can't go on this list without mentioning the original. Personally, I like the original. I just seen it so many times that it just got way too repetitive for me. Like, I'm like, alright, I know exactly what's going to happen here, there, and everywhere. Nowadays, when I'm not watching it as much, I've slowly grown to like it better, and it could surpass the 4th movie. But as of right now, I think it's a good movie, but just not good enough to make my top 10. Personally, this would probably, if I would have a number 11, this would probably be number 11 on the list. So, like I said, it's really close to being the 4th movie. Maybe as time goes on, maybe if I rewatch the 4th movie again, maybe this will surpass it. But as of now, I think it's a really great movie. I just think I've seen it so many times, and it's a little overrated. I think the 2nd and 3rd one are better for sure. But it's a great start to the franchise. Gru's a great character. Heck, even the villain Vector is a great character as well. It's just a great movie altogether. Like, it's the one that started the trilogy, and I like it. The Lorax. Oh man, here's another really great movie as well. I know it's not really maybe beloved, but at the same time, I think a lot of people do appreciate it. And personally, I think it's a really great movie. It's just your good old story of the Lorax. Now, yeah, kind of like the Grinch. I mean, instead of it being just a 30-minute quick short, they did have to put in the extra hour. So there may be some filler scenes or scenes that just feel off. But that's because they had to work with the extra time. So, I mean, what do you really expect? And personally, like the Grinch, I think they did a really great job with the extra scenes that they added. I love how Ted is a much more interesting character instead of just the boy who wants to learn the story from, what's his name? The Onceler. The Onceler is a more interesting character. He's an actual character instead of just these green hands. The Lorax is a more interesting character. Like, it's just overall a really good movie, and of course has a lot of memeable songs in this movie, like the "How Bad Can I Be" played by the Onceler, which of course it's a really great song. You gotta love it, and of course the "Let It Grow" song. Both of those songs are well known as really great songs, and they're just basically big memes at this point. I even like the intro song, Thneedville, I think it's called. It's a really great intro song. That's what I love about this movie, is just the songs. It's not just songs. It's a really good movie overall. I don't think it's as good as Grinch, but I still think it's a really great movie overall with some great characters. The music is great. And it's just overall another great movie. This would probably be number 12 on the list. Minions. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. I know this is not a great, well-known. Okay, it's well known, but it's not well known to be a good movie from Illuminations. In fact, it's well known to be a filler, just for kids type of movie. And that's the thing. I watched this movie when I was a kid back, what, 10 years ago when it came out, back in, what, 2014 or so? So I was a little 10-year-old boy watching this, and I loved it. And I thought it was a really great movie because at the time, I really just enjoyed the Minions. They were great characters. Obviously, as I got older, I more just... The Minions are great characters, obviously, as well, but I've also grown to love Gru a lot more, and Lucy, and the kid, and the humans and stuff, because they're just really interesting characters as well, and of course they're hilarious. So I don't find the comedy as funny from the Minions, but I still think they're great characters. Do they work as their own movie? Most people will say no, but I, for one, don't mind the movie that much. I think it's pretty great. It's great seeing like the Minions backstory and how they became like how they met Gru, how they became villains and stuff. And the villain Scarlet Overkill is so hilarious. I know she's a very overlooked villain, but man, she's so underrated. She and Herb are both hilarious. I like them both. It's a great movie. Like, this is one of those ones. It's just one of those like hot takes for me. So I think it's a good one. I don't think it's good enough to make top 10 though, and I know everyone would say it's one of the worst Illumination movies, but I don't think it's the worst. This would probably be like number 13 on the list though. It's good. I like it. It's not as good as the other ones, but I think it's a good one. So with those three movies out of the way, let's get to my favorite movie by Illuminations. And this movie would be the Mario movie. Ah, that's right. This is what number one was. I mean, now that you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Obviously, as you know, I am a big Mario fan. I love Mario games. I have a good amount of them. And having found out that they're making a Mario movie, and it's not just a cringy live-action version, great! Like, they're making a Mario Bros. Movie. Like, I'm speechless. First Sonic, Pokemon, whatever. Now Mario. Thank God Mario. Because Mario, my favorite game franchise of all time. And now they've turned it into a movie. And man, this movie is so good. It's not even funny. For starters, we have Mario, who's voiced by Chris Pratt. At first, I wasn't really sure how to make of this. I thought it was a little odd. But as time goes on, I like it more and more because it makes more sense why Chris Pratt was the one who voiced Mario opposed to Charles Martinet. So if you think about it, Charles Martinet doing his normal Mario voice just wouldn't seem right, especially in the more like what's the word I'm looking for? Serious parts of the movie, I guess. Like, Chris Pratt just has that tone that just works perfectly in the serious parts of the movie. And it works really well. Like I said, I've grown to like it, and I don't think it's bad. And of course, Jack Black as Bowser works really well as well. And all the other voice actors that I forget, Charlie Day as Luigi, all the voice actors are really great, and I think they did a really good job. The story is simple. Mario starts in Brooklyn with his brother Luigi. What's really cool is you get to see Pauline in New York City as well, which is hilarious because she was the mayor of New Dong City. It just makes all the sense, and why not have her be a cameo in the movie? Why not? Mario and Luigi end up in the Mushroom Kingdom. Or sorry, Mario does. Luigi ends up in some random place elsewhere, which is literally just the first cutscene of the Mario and Luigi Brothership game, which is really hilariously funny. And Luigi has to make his way back to Mario, and he gets almost like this Luigi's Mansion vibe, but there's no Polter Puppy, or Egad, so sorry, it's not. Mario, on the other hand, is in the Mushroom Kingdom, where he meets Toad, and he takes him to Peach's castle, where Peach trains Mario gets better, I guess, and then they go to the Great Kong thing, whatever, to get a bunch of Kongs to help defeat Bowser. So Cranky Kong says no, so Mario ends up fighting his son, Donkey Kong, which I guess apparently is going to be the design we're going to be getting in the new Mario Kart. So, whoopee. Which leads to an interesting fight. And it's great seeing Donkey Kong and even a cameo from Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and of course Cranky Kong's in the movie. So it's really great. Eventually Mario wins, so they end up taking a shortcut back to the Mushroom Kingdom. That shortcut, of course, is none other than taking Rainbow Road. You gotta love how it's inspired. How they have You gotta love how so many of the Mario video games are just put together into this one giant movie. From the different things they do to the music, like in one part, Bowser's Fury music starts randomly playing, or the Mario Odyssey Cascade Kingdom starts randomly playing. The Mario Kart 8 Kart Select song starts playing. The DK rap starts playing. And of course, SNES Rainbow Road starts playing. Oh, it's just so great. Like, you can tell they really put as much heart into this movie as they really could. And it's just really shown that they could do more with this. Instead, like, they did a really great job with this, but I think they could do even more. Bowser's mate, I love how Bowser isn't just this stereotypic bad guy. Instead, he's here to marry Peach. It's hilarious. I also love how Peach isn't just the stereotypic princess in this movie either. She's there to fight, if she can. And she isn't just the damsel in distress like she sometimes is. Which is really great how she's... I love her more in this type of form opposed to, like I said, the damsel in distress. It's also funny seeing Mario and Luigi and even Peach's backstory, and you can see a cameo of Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, and Baby Peach. This movie is so good. I love it so much. Mario and DK learning to work together. Then they stop Bowser's wedding, and Luigi going to fall into lava. and Luma makes a appearance in the movie too. He's adorable and interesting in this movie. Who else do we have? The oddest part of the movie is when everything gets sucked into into the New York City, which is okay, interesting. But that's when the final showdown happens between Mario and Bowser. It's so great. This movie is so good. I love everything about it. I love the cameo from Yoshi, as we saw, and even at the end of the movie where you could see... I forget what it was. It was like the egg or something moving around. Which kind of gives us hope that, I guess, the next movie, well, the sequel, will have to do with Yoshi. That would be really cool. Obviously, more Mario characters would be nice. Waluigi, Daisy, of course. Maybe if we're having a Yoshi side to things, too. Poochie. We could see Poochie. Polterpup. He's adorable as heck, but I don't think we're going to get him unless we have a Luigi's Mansion part of it. Maybe Prince Florian. Oh, that'd be hilarious. But, oh man, everything about this movie just screams Mario. It just feels like if Mario was in a movie, this is exactly how it would be. I also love the intro with the Super Mario Bros. Super Show theme playing a little bit there at the beginning with a modern tune to it. They even called back to the old TV show that was made back in the 80s. And of course, you can't forget the iconic Peaches song that Bowser sings. I could go on forever. This movie is so good. There's so many great things about this movie. It's Mario. Like, of course it's going to be a good movie. And of course it's going to be my absolute favorite movie from Illuminations. Sure, Despicable Me is a great series, and Secret Life of Pets is adorable, but you cannot beat a movie based on Mario. Like, come on. This movie is easily, in my opinion, the best movie from Illuminations. Now, eventually, I'm pretty sure we'll be getting I guess, like I said, we'll most likely be getting a sequel, and maybe that movie will be the best. Maybe it'll be even better than this one, which would be really cool. So, wow. This movie is great. I love it a lot. It's easily, like I said, the best movie from Illuminations. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys probably next week. This Friday, we are going down to Kalahari Resorts. On my second channel, I'm going to be doing a live stream. So if you guys are subscribed to my second channel, keep in mind there will be a live stream there at 9:30 p.m. So That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Peace out.